Outdoor adventures are about exploring nature and testing limits. But some adventures end in tragedy, reminding us of the risks. In this video, we'll explore 5 more real stories of the worst deaths in outdoor adventure history. True accounts of people who lost their lives while seeking the thrill of the wild. It was February 2nd, 2024, in Transylvania County, North Carolina. 12-year-old Clark Harmon arrived at Trails Carolina Wilderness Therapy Camp, a program his parents hoped would help him manage challenges like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and anxiety. They believed the camp's therapeutic approach would equip him with the skills to succeed. Clark had traveled from New York to North Carolina with hired escorts. Though initially upset upon arrival, he eventually complied with instructions but chose not to eat dinner that evening. Tragically, this would become his first and last night at the camp. Clark was assigned to Cabin 6, where he joined 4 other young participants under the care of 4 staff members. Following camp procedures, he was placed in a bivy bag, a weather-resistant sleeping device often used by hikers. At Trails Carolina, these bags were used as a containment tool for participants deemed at risk of running away or having outbursts. The bags included alarms to alert staff if someone tried to leave. Clark's bivy bag, however, was damaged. Its ventilation mesh was torn, and instead of properly addressing this issue, staff sealed the bag's opaque outer layer, which limited airflow. This decision had devastating consequences. That night, Clark appeared restless. Staff observed him mumbling and moving within the bag. Concerned, they briefly removed him, allowing him to sleep outside the bag. However, after he fell asleep, they woke him and placed him back inside, resealing the bag with the alarm. Throughout the night, staff performed routine checks, but the opaque material made it difficult to see inside. They noted some movement but could not fully assess his condition. In the early hours of February 3rd, Clark became unresponsive. The restricted airflow in the sealed bivy bag had caused him to suffocate. The staff did not realize anything was wrong until the following morning. At approximately 8 in the morning, staff attempted to wake Clark and discovered he was unresponsive. His body was cold, with signs of rigor mortis. His knees were bent, his arms crossed over his chest, and his skin showed discoloration. There was also froth near his mouth, a sign of restricted breathing. Clark's pants and underwear were found near his shoulder, though he was still wearing his hoodie and t-shirt. Emergency responders determined that he had likely been deceased for hours. The Transylvania County Sheriff's Department quickly began investigating Clark's death. An autopsy conducted on February 6th confirmed that he had passed away from breathing difficulties due to restricted airflow, and his death was ruled a homicide. Despite the seriousness of the situation, Trails Carolina staff did not fully cooperate with authorities. The camp refused to provide access to the other campers in Cabin 6 or share their names and other identifying details. Investigators found that the camp had ignored basic safety measures, particularly regarding the bivy bag. Experts noted that bivy bags often carry warnings against full sealing, as this can cause condensation and make breathing difficult. This critical information, readily available online, appeared to have been overlooked. This was not the first troubling incident at Trails Carolina. In 2014, a 17-year-old camper named Alec Lansing lost his life after attempting to leave the camp during a hiking trip. His body was discovered 2 weeks later at the bottom of a gorge. The camp was fined $112,000 for negligence but continued operating. Former campers have also spoken out about their experiences. Many described practices like the use of bivy bags and burrito wraps, which involved tightly restraining participants in tarps or sleeping gear, as both physically and emotionally harmful. One former camper, Vic Mitorando, recalled feeling trapped and unable to breathe while in a bivy bag, describing it as a cocoon. Another anonymous individual reflected on hearing about Clark, thinking they had made it out while he had not. Following Clark's death, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services intervened. All campers were removed, and the camp's operating license was revoked. A Change.org petition demanding that the camp remain permanently closed gained over 2,000 signatures. Despite these developments, Trails Carolina maintained it had conducted its internal investigation and claimed no wrongdoing. While they expressed sadness over Clark's death and pledged to cooperate with authorities, their lack of transparency during the investigation told a different story. Clark's tragic passing has highlighted concerns within programs that claim to offer therapeutic care. As investigations continue, many hope the incident will lead to changes that improve the safety and well-being of children in similar environments. It was November 14, 2015, when 59-year-old Stephen Otter Olshansky began what would tragically be his final journey. Known in the hiking community as Otter, Stephen was a highly skilled outdoorsman who had achieved the Triple Crown of hiking multiple times, completing the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail, or CDT. On this day, he set out for his fifth trek on the Continental Divide Trail, planning to hike 75 miles south from Cumbres Pass, near the New Mexico-Colorado border, to Ghost Ranch in New Mexico. He carried supplies for 2 weeks, a red and gray tent, and winter clothing. Despite his expertise hiking the Continental Divide Trail in mid-November, when deep snow covered the trail, was a dangerous decision that would lead to devastating consequences. In the days before his hike, Otter stayed in Chama, New Mexico to prepare and visit his friend, Ben Whitting. He assured Ben he would check in after 10 days, and if not, Ben should alert authorities. Otter's confidence in his abilities overshadowed the severe risks. Waist-deep snow and freezing temperatures made this one of the most challenging conditions a hiker could face, but Otter believed his experience would see him through. As he hiked south from Cumbres Pass, Otter quickly realized the snow was far deeper than he had anticipated. His journal revealed the physical exhaustion he endured as he struggled to move through the snow. Weakness overtook him, and he admitted he had made a terrible mistake. At one point, he tried to turn back but managed only a mile before collapsing from fatigue. Trapped by the harsh conditions, he was forced to return to his campsite. Weeks passed as Otter remained stranded. Frostbite took hold, and his strength continued to decline. In his journal and video messages, he expressed regret for his decision to hike in such conditions. One message revealed that he acknowledged making a huge mistake and that he should have never gone out there during that time of year. He hoped Ben would follow through with their agreement and alert authorities. However, it wasn't until November 29th, over 2 weeks later, that Ben shared his concerns on social media. By then, Otter's situation had worsened beyond recovery. Search and rescue teams began their efforts, but locating Otter proved impossible. His phone battery had died, cutting off any chance of tracking him. In a desperate attempt to survive, Otter crafted a large help sign in the snow and set fire to a wooden shelter at the Lagunitas campground to attract attention. He even made makeshift skis from metal to navigate the snow, but his efforts were in vain. By February 2016, Otter's physical condition had deteriorated severely due to starvation and exposure. He passed away alone in the wilderness he loved. His body was found 2 months later on April 7, 2016 by a fellow hiker, Ian Crombie, at the Lagunitas campground. Near a restroom, Crombie saw a chilling message scratched into the door. "Dead CDT hiker inside, call cops, Otter." A note confirmed Otter's identity and requested authorities be notified immediately. Otter's journal, recovered near his body, provided a heartbreaking account of his final days. He expressed regret for his decisions but took full responsibility. He used his final entries to reflect on his life and thank his friends. Despite his resourcefulness and extensive experience, Otter couldn't overcome the brutal winter conditions. His story reminds us of the dangers of underestimating nature, even for the most skilled adventurers. Without a global positioning system device equipped with a Save Our Souls function and proper communication of his exact plans, Otter was left vulnerable to the unforgiving elements. His loss left many wondering, what if he had delayed his hike until spring? What if he had taken more precautions? These unanswered questions linger in the minds of those who knew him and the hiking community as a whole. Though his story ended in tragedy, Otter's love for the wilderness and his incredible achievements remain an inspiration to many. His experience underscores the importance of preparation, caution, and respect for nature. It was late January 1973 when 10 students from the Kuibyshev Aviation Institute, or QAI, began a ski expedition on the Kola Peninsula in northern Russia. The group, eager to unwind after exams, planned to tackle a moderately challenging route classified as Category 2. Among them were Mikhail Kuznetsov, a 24-year-old experienced ski leader; Valentin Zemlyanov, 23, the group leader; Ilya Altshuler, a cinematographer and recent graduate; 26-year-old engineer Lydia Martina; and first-year students Alexander Novoselov, Yuri Ushkov, Artem Lekant, Sergei Gusev, Yuri Krivov, and Anatoly Pirogov. They set out from the village of Revda on January 25th, intending to reach Kirovsk by January 31st. However, tragedy struck on the second day as they ascended a pass in the Lovozero tundra above the Chivray River. All 10 perished under unclear circumstances. The official cause was hypothermia, but the events leading to their deaths remain a mystery. Their bodies were first discovered by chance when another group of hikers from the Moscow Aviation Institute, or MAI, traveling a day behind, found 5 of them near a snow-covered tent. Kuznetsov's hand was frozen on the tent's edge, indicating a desperate attempt to find safety. The hikers from the Moscow Aviation Institute reported the discovery after reaching Kirovsk, prompting a rescue mission. Search teams, including investigator Vladimir Borzenkov and military personnel, arrived on February 2nd. Over the next few months, more bodies were recovered. In March, rescuers found Martina and Ushkov about 300 meters from the original site, buried under snow behind rocks. Zemlyanov and Lekant were found weeks later, 3 kilometers away, their remains suggesting they had tried to descend toward Lake Umbozero, but collapsed from exhaustion. Altshuler was the last to be found in June, at the foot of a slope below the plateau where the group had camped. Investigators concluded that extreme weather played a significant role. On January 27th, temperatures dropped to negative 28 degrees Celsius, with winds reaching 50 meters per second. These conditions would have made it impossible to set up a tent or find shelter. It is believed the group split up. Some stayed near the tent while others attempted to find an escape route. Evidence suggested Zemlyanov and Lekant crawled over the frozen terrain in search of safety, while Altshuler appeared to have tried returning to the group. The Chivray tragedy was compared to the 1959 Dyatlov Pass incident, where experienced hikers died under mysterious circumstances in extreme weather. Both cases involve strange group behavior and unanswered questions. While human error and severe weather were the official causes, rumors of military involvement and other theories persisted. Families were denied access to autopsy results, personal belongings, and a missing camera, with many victims buried in sealed coffins, deepening the mystery. In 2019, amateur investigator Viktor Voroshilov, a relative of one of the victims, retraced the group's steps on the Chivray Plateau. His findings confirmed reports of sudden dangerous weather, including storms, freezing temperatures, and strong winds. Meteorologist Tabriz Sharafiev, who knew some victims, suggested Kuznetsov may have underestimated the region's risks despite his experience. Voroshilov uncovered strange events in the Lovozero tundra, including tourists vanishing, experiencing unexplained fear, or dying mysteriously. One story told of climbers abandoning their campsite, while another involved hikers found far from their equipment. These eerie accounts fueled theories that something beyond harsh weather was at play. Sadly, Voroshilov's investigation ended abruptly in September 2019 when he lost his life in a dispute unrelated to his work. His efforts to solve the over 50-year-old mystery came to a tragic close. The Chivray tragedy remains unsolved. While the harsh weather may have been the main cause, some still wonder if undisclosed activities in the area contributed to the disaster. Though we may never know the full story, the fate of the 10 students from Kuibyshev Aviation Institute stands as a haunting reminder of the unpredictable dangers of nature and the secrets hidden in the vast tundra. On October 5, 2022, Daniel and Emma Heritage, a young couple from Australia, set out on a rock climbing trip in Banff National Park, Canada. Married for 4 years, the two were passionate climbers and had been exploring the Canadian Rockies for several months. That day, they decided to climb the Mother's Day Buttress, a challenging route on Cascade Mountain. Though it was difficult, it was well within their skill level. This climb was meant to be their last of the season. They had already accomplished so much together and were planning bigger adventures in the future. However, the day took a tragic turn. Daniel, 28, led the climb and reached a tough section on the 5th pitch, a steep corner crack that was harder than expected. As he made his way up, he called down to Emma, who was waiting below at a secure point. He told her that it had been tougher than he thought. Emma waited for the usual signal, Daniel calling out "safe," to let her know he had reached a secure spot. She took in the stunning scenery around her, the dense forests and towering peaks of the Rockies. But after a few minutes, something felt wrong. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Suddenly, Emma noticed the rope connecting them had gone slack, with a large section dropping toward her. Alarmed, she asked what was happening. What she saw next would stay with her forever. Daniel appeared in her view, falling rapidly down the mountain. He tumbled uncontrollably across rocky ledges, completely silent. Emma watched in shock and terror as he landed hard on a ledge near her. Rushing to him, Emma found Daniel unconscious, with severe injuries and blood coming from his mouth. His helmet had offered little protection during the 20-meter fall. Emma immediately called emergency services. For 90 minutes, she stayed with Daniel, holding his head in her lap and telling him how much she loved him. As tears streamed down her face, she whispered heartfelt words, holding him close until he took his final breath, surrounded by the mountains he cherished. When rescuers arrived, they had to prioritize Emma's evacuation. Leaving Daniel behind was devastating for her. She said she felt like her heart was being ripped out of her chest. As the sole witness to what happened, Emma had to recount the incident to authorities during an investigation. It was an emotionally draining process. Adding to her pain, Emma learned their travel insurance didn't cover accidental death. Bringing Daniel's body back to Australia would cost thousands of dollars. Emma's twin sister, Jessica, started a GoFundMe campaign that raised $42,830 of the $50,000 needed. Daniel's mother contributed $12,000 to cover an initial deposit at a Canadian funeral home. Despite the challenges, Emma was determined to bring Daniel home. She felt that she needed to get him back to his family. But leaving Canada seemed like leaving a part of him behind. In 2023, Emma returned to the site where Daniel had fallen. She wanted to understand how such an experienced climber could have an accident on a route that wasn't beyond their abilities. She climbed the Mother's Day Buttress again, retracing every step of their final ascent. Above the spot where Daniel fell, Emma found no clear answers. Experts suggested he might have slipped or been caught off guard by a loose rock. It was noted that Daniel hadn't placed protective gear after the corner crack, likely assuming the terrain ahead was easier. However, no definitive cause could be determined. Daniel was remembered as a kind, adventurous, and loving person. Emma described him as her best friend, climbing partner, and the love of her life. In a touching tribute, she expressed gratitude for the joy he brought into her life, how he showed her strength she never knew she had, and how he was the best husband she could have asked for. His sisters, Brianna and Rebecca, also shared memories. Brianna said Daniel was always there to support her. Rebecca described him as having a kind heart, an infectious smile, and strong morals. Daniel's adventurous spirit and love for life left an impact on everyone who knew him. It was November 20th, 2022, in Franconia Notch State Park, New Hampshire. Emily Sotelo, a 19-year-old college sophomore from Westford, Massachusetts, set out on an ambitious goal. She aimed to climb all 48 of New Hampshire's peaks over 4,000 feet before her 20th birthday, which was just days away. Emily had already climbed 40 peaks, and this solo hike was meant to complete her journey. She planned to celebrate with her mother, Olivera, after the hike, but Emily never returned. Early that Sunday, Oliveira dropped Emily off at the Lafayette Place campground trailhead at 4:30 a.m. Emily wore light pants, a jacket, and trail running shoes. She carried a backpack with basic items like granola bars, a banana, water, and heated gloves. However, she didn't have essential winter hiking gear, such as a map, compass, or proper insulated clothing. The weather forecast for the town of Franconia was checked, but not for the mountain, where conditions can be far more severe. Emily began hiking the Franconia Ridge, which includes Mount Lafayette, Haystack, and Flume. By 11 a.m., light snow started falling, and Oliveira sent a text to check on Emily, but there was no reply. The weather quickly worsened, with temperatures dropping below zero, wind speeds reaching 40 to 60 miles per hour, and gusts up to 95 miles per hour. The wind chill made it feel like negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. When Emily didn't return, her family reported her missing around noon. Rescue teams began searching immediately, but they faced many challenges. The harsh weather and deep snow made visibility poor and slowed progress. Helicopters, scent dogs, and over 60 ground searchers joined the effort. On Tuesday, some of Emily's belongings and footprints were found near the headwaters of Lafayette Brook. Searchers followed these clues, but they had to pause as nightfall and freezing conditions made it unsafe to continue. The search resumed on Wednesday, November 23rd. Around 11:15 a.m., Emily's body was found on the northwest side of Mount Lafayette, about 3/4 of a mile from the trail. Officials believe she became disoriented due to the worsening weather and lost her way. It appeared she struggled to find the trail and likely succumbed to the extreme cold. Recovering Emily's body was also difficult because of the harsh conditions. A New Hampshire Army National Guard helicopter was needed for the operation. Emily's parents, Oliveira and Jorge, were devastated by the news. Jorge, a gastroenterologist, had held on to hope during the search, while Oliveira, a psychiatrist, feared the worst from the beginning. Reflecting on her medical knowledge, she explained that she had known the situation was dire, even though others told her to stay hopeful. Emily was a talented, kind-hearted young woman studying biochemistry and chemical biology at Vanderbilt University with aspirations of becoming a doctor. She excelled academically, musically, and artistically, while also volunteering at a Navajo reservation school and tackling drug abuse on campus. Her parents described her as driven and committed to improving the world. At her funeral, Oliveira called her a shooting star, so brilliant and bright, but gone too soon. Emily's story sparked conversations about hiking safety, especially in New Hampshire's White Mountains, known for their unpredictable weather. Officials emphasized the importance of preparation for hikers. Major David Walsh from New Hampshire Fish and Game highlighted the need to always prepare for the unexpected when hiking in the White Mountains. He advised hikers to carry essential gear such as a map, compass, extra clothes, and enough food and water to dress appropriately, and to check the mountain weather forecast. Emily's parents are now considering starting a nonprofit organization in her memory. They hope to raise awareness about hiking safety and educate others on how to avoid similar tragedies. While Emily's loss is deeply painful, her family wants her story to encourage hikers to prioritize safety and preparation when exploring nature.